Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Magic 2014. So this is the digital version, the PC game version. It's also available on, I believe, PlayStation and Xbox. So it's the digital version of the Magic the Gathering trading card game, which is a paper physical game, which a lot of people play. I have played it myself. I got really into it about a year and a half ago or so. And then had a bit of time to be playing a lot of it, and then not so much time. So I haven't actually played it in about the last 9 to 12 months or so. So I got really into it for a while, but unfortunately all the cards I have now are no longer in the standard block, which is unfortunate. So for those of you who don't know very much about Magic or don't actually play the physical card game, this is a really good way to kind of get into it. You get lots of tutorials, you get lots of hints and tips, and it allows you to kind of get into the basics first and then worry about the niceties. The thing I really love about Magic is just how complex it can be, and all the various different strategies that are out there and things like that. It's the thing I really like about it is there's no one deck that's going to beat absolutely everything. Every other deck has its own weaknesses, and it can be taken down by another deck. So there's always that kind of that struggle or that battle to build, you know, the ultimate deck. But at the end of the day, it's really up to what kind of deck you actually want to build. And I found throughout the 6 months or so that I was actually playing Magic again, I found my own kind of theme, as it were, for the decks that I wanted to build. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop blabbing away about this and we'll get into the game, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through a couple of episodes of this game, and then sometime after Christmas in the new year I'm actually going to invest in some of the new sets, the Theros set, and some of the new ones that will be coming out. So what I'll be doing then is I'll be doing some real world videos of me going through building decks, and kind of I'll be kind of discovering again how best to build new decks, and going through all that kind of stuff. So I'll be kind of giving a how-to, or, you know, here's a couple of hints and tips on how to build a good deck, but that'll be next year, and that'll be kind of real world stuff. So anyway, let's just dive straight in. I will play the tutorial. So the tutorial is really helpful, because that way I don't really have to explain a huge amount of concepts, because the game will do it for us. So this is the tutorial, and we just choose an opponent. Okay, so I believe we need to fight all of these different guys, and then we get to actually fight against Chandra. So casting spells and combat. Complete this lesson to continue. Okay, so we'll choose this guy. Marrow.
You are a Planeswalker, one of the elite spellcasters of the multiverse.
So that is basically the idea of Magic. You are, as it says, a Planeswalker, and you can, you know, you're a magician, you're a mage, you're a wizard, you can cast spells, and the multiverse is kind of these loads of different universes that are all kind of interconnected.
During duels, you will face fearsome enemies, sometimes other Planeswalkers, to battle for power and glory.
Now, this game itself is different to real world Magic, because in real world Magic you're always just playing against another human or a group of other humans. What they've done in this is, instead of actually playing against another Planeswalker for various different challenges and these kind of tutorial things, you're not actually playing against a Planeswalker per se, but you know, that's just the way they've decided to actually design the gameplay and the progression of the story.
You each start with 20 life. The first player to reduce the opponent's life total to 0 is the winner.
And that's one of the main mechanics of the game.
Your library is the deck of cards containing all the spells, creatures, and resources you'll need to defeat your opponent. You begin the game with a hand of 7 cards. Use the mouse to select a card in your hand. Use the mouse wheel to zoom in on the selected card.
So here we have a Rune Claw Bear. So there's, for those of you unfamiliar with Magic, and I'm going to assume anybody watching this video is a little bit unfamiliar with Magic. We'll get onto mana in a minute, because that's another deal. But basically, this is the name of the creature. This is the really cool art work for that creature, or this could actually be a spell. This card could be a spell as well. This is how much it's going to cost me to actually play him. This is normally where you see the expansion that it comes from, or the set that it comes from. In this one, it's actually saying that it's coming from the digital 2014 one, you know, which you wouldn't normally see. You'd normally see on an actual physical card whichever expansion it came from. So that kind of makes sense. And here it tells you what kind of a card it is. So it's a creature, and it's a bear creature. Then you have this kind of flavor text. And this is its power and its toughness. So we'll zoom out.
On your opponent's first turn, he plays a land. Once on the battlefield, lands provide the mana needed to cast spells.
So this guy is playing a Crazed Goblin for 1 mana, 1 red mana. Crazed Goblin attacks each turn if able. Interesting. So he's a 1/1 creature, so his he can do 1 damage and he can take 1 damage before he dies. So it's waiting here for me to continue.
Your opponent uses that land to summon a creature onto the battlefield.
So what he's done there is he's tapped the mana in order to access its mana ability, and he's summoned that creature.
Crazed Goblin costs 1 red mana to cast, so your opponent needed just 1 mountain to cast it.
This guy's doing a better job of explaining it than I am.
You can play 1 land on each of your turns. Play a forest now.
So one thing they're kind of glossing over is that in the game of Magic there are various different steps. You have your kind of your upkeep step at the very beginning of the turn, where you would untap any things that you've tapped. Then you have your draw phase or things like that. I'll let obviously the game explain that, because it'll probably do a much better job. So we're going to click on the forest, and we've just played that now. So we're now in the combat phase, and now we're at the end step, and then we're done. So I only had 1 forest, 1 green mana, so I couldn't actually play any of my cards here. So it just effectively moves on to the next player.
Crazed Goblin attacks. Because you have no creatures, you're unable to block.
So because I can't put any of my creatures between me and Crazed Goblin, I'm going to take 1 damage.
Crazed Goblin has 1 power, so it deals 1 damage in combat. You lose 1 life.
And now we go down to 19.
The more lands you have on the battlefield, the more powerful spells you'll be able to cast.
So now it's our turn. We're going to play a forest, and now we actually have access.
Forests now give you access to 2 green mana. Use the mouse wheel to zoom. Runeclaw Bear requires 1 green mana and 1 mana of any type to cast. Click on Runeclaw Bear to cast it.
So this colorless mana means you can use it with red, you can use blue, green, white, black. You can even use colorless mana. There are cards and creatures out there that actually put colorless mana into what's called your mana pool. So we're just going to play the card.
When you use mana from lands, those lands become tapped and can't be used again until your next turn. A creature can't attack the first turn you summon it to the battlefield. This is often called summoning sickness. The creature will be able to block if you're attacked.
Fantastic. So we have nothing else to do this turn. We move to the end step, and then we pass over to the other player. So he's got 3 mana now. I'm a little bit worried he's going to start throwing things out at me. Okay, maybe not. He's just going to attack. So this gives me the opportunity
Crazed
to block.
Goblin attacks. Because Runeclaw Bear is untapped, you can choose to block with it. Click Runeclaw Bear to select it. Then click Crazed Goblin to block it. Then click Block to finalize your choice.
This is where the fun happens.
Crazed Goblin has 1 power, so it deals 1 damage to Runeclaw Bear. Runeclaw Bear has 2 power, so it deals 2 damage to Crazed Goblin at the same time.
So you can see his toughness, or his life as it were, went down to 1 because he took 1 damage, but he was able to in turn retaliate with 2 damage, and so that Crazed Goblin died and goes to the graveyard over here.
Crazed Goblin has only 1 toughness, so 2
Yeah, I think we
damage
got that
is
bit.
enough to destroy. Runeclaw Bear has 2 toughness and takes only 1 damage, so it survives the combat and remains on the battlefield.
Fantastic. Okay, it's the end of his turn, and now it's my turn.
As the turn ends, all damage dealt to creatures wears off.
So,
You can press H to request a hint. These hints may advise you about which spells to cast, which creatures to attack with, and more. Request a hint now by pressing...
do I have to? I kind of know what I'm doing. It's telling me to play one of these cards. Okay, just to spite it, I'm going to play one of these. Aha. So I have access to 3 green mana now, which means I can play any one of these, and I already have a Runeclaw Bear, so I'm going to play Centaur Cursor. So he's a 3/3, he doesn't have any special abilities, and we'll play him. So it's now our combat step.
Runeclaw Bear no longer has summoning sickness and can now attack your opponent. Click on Runeclaw Bear to attack with it.
So I set him to attack the opponent, and we're going to attack. So he has the opportunity to block. He doesn't have anything to block with, and so we do 2 damage. So his life goes down to 18. So now it's his turn. He's playing another red mana, a mountain. So now he has access to 4 red mana, and he's going to play Bloodrock Cyclops. So again, Bloodrock Cyclops attacks each turn of Fable, and he is a 3/3 creature. So we'll continue. So even if he could attack
You can cast any
straight
number
away,
of spells each turn.
yeah, that's fair enough. Even if he could have attacked straight away, I could have blocked him with my Centaur Cursor, and I would have been okay. Centaur would have died, unfortunately. Okay, so let's play a forest. We now have access to 4 green mana, so I can now play this Colonian Tusker, if I like, who is a 3/3. I can also play my Runeclaw Bear if I like. So I'm going to play this guy, because he uses the same amount of mana. Doesn't really matter, but he's stronger than Runeclaw Bear. So we're going to play that card. Now for the time being, I'm going to be allowing the game to show different hints, so it'll show that little arrow above the card it's recommending me to play, but after a little while I'll be turning those hints off, because as I say, I've played Magic before, so I kind of know what I'm doing. So we still have 2 mana left, so we can still play Runeclaw Bear. So we're going to pop him out.
You can attack with any number of creatures each combat.
Providing they're able to attack. So, okay, now this guy can block. So, So what will likely happen is I will swing for attack. That's the term generally used by Magic players. I'm going to swing for attack with these 2 guys, and Bloodrock Cyclops can block one of them. Now, if he were to block the Centaur Cursor, they would both die. However, if he was to block the Runeclaw Bear, he would survive and Runeclaw Bear would die. Now, the choice there is to only take 2 damage but lose the creature, or to take 3 damage and retain the creature. So, I don't know what the computer is going to choose. I'm not quite sure what I would choose. I would probably choose to take 3 life but retain my creature, lose 3 life but retain my creature. Okay, so we've selected our attackers and we're going to swing in for attack. So now he has the opportunity to block. Yeah, as I thought, he's going to swing for... he's going to block my Runeclaw Bear, not lose his creature, and he's going to take the 3 damage. Okay, so my Runeclaw Bear is gone. That guy survives, and now my Centaur is tapped.
You can block a single attacker with any number of creatures. Your opponent will divide the attacker's damage among its blockers.
So you can block a single attacker with any number of creatures. Your opponent will divide the attacker's damage among its blockers. Perfect. Okay. So, now, what might happen here is I can choose to block with either one of these. If I block with this guy, then they both die. If I block with Runeclaw Bear, then only my Runeclaw Bear dies, but I still don't take any damage. So it's probably better to... I wonder. See, I don't want any of them to die, but I would like to get rid of this guy. So, see, I have an option here. I could just not block. I could take the damage and then swing with everything I have in the next turn. I think, however, I will just block with the Centaur Cursor. Courser, I should say. And we'll block. So that way they both die. Oh, sorry, this is the Colonian Tusker. Right, so we play another forest. We don't have access to any other cards. He has nothing to block with. He may have some spells or instants that he can cast to do some damage to me or to prevent my attack, but I'm still going to swing with both of these guys, so I'm swinging in for 5. So let's see, does he have any instants or spells that he can cast to prevent my attack? Okay, he's taking 3 damage. Okay, so he hasn't actually done anything to block or stop any of my attacks. Oh, here we go. Bonebreaker Giant. So this guy is a 4/4. That's troublesome. Okay. So unfortunately I don't have anything big enough to take on that guy. So we're going to play a forest. Now I now have access to an Alpha Tyrannax. Okay, he's a 6/5, so he can easily deal with the Bonebreaker Giant. Okay, we have enough mana to cast him, so we're going to play him. Now what I was doing before was I was using the mouse wheel to zoom in on him and then clicking manually on the play card button, whereas I actually just manually clicked on him and he went into play. So I now have the option of attacking. So there's a little helpful button here that will allow me to attack with all. So if I had loads and loads and loads of creatures, it would be tedious clicking on all of them going, oh, I want to attack with this guy and this guy and this guy and blah 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 blah. So you can attack with all. What I'm going to do in this case is Bonebreaker Giant can easily deal with either one of these guys and they will die and Bonebreaker Giant will be perfectly fine. So I'm gonna not attack, because what I want to do is I want to force him to attack me with his Bonebreaker Giant, and I want to block him with my Alpha Tyrannax and take him out. Oh shoot. Oh no, he's got haste. Oh crap. Okay. So this guy is playing a Volcanic Dragon, so he's a flying creature and he's got haste. So we're going to click here for more info. And this will tell us bits and pieces about the different abilities and things that this creature has. So flying, creatures with flying can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. So something like a spider with reach, or you know, an archer or something like that, or other flying creatures. Those are the only things that can actually attack flying creatures. Haste. Creatures with haste ignore summoning sickness, so they can attack and their tapping abilities can be played as soon as they enter the battlefield. So this is a problem. Ordinarily he wouldn't be able to attack with this guy in this turn, he'd have to wait a turn. But now he can attack straight away with both of his creatures and I'm screwed. I should have tried to swing before, then his Bonebreaker Giant would have been no, it wouldn't have been tapped, because I'm just rambling now. Anyway, creature, fair enough, that's fine. Okay, so crap. Alright, let's see how this turns out. Oh, I can't block that damage at all. Okay, that's fair enough. So I'm gonna play that. Now I've got an enormous Baloth, which I can play for that amount of mana. Okay, we're gonna play him. So enormous Baloth is a 7/7 creature. I don't have anything here that has reach that can stop that dragon, so I'm screwed. The unfortunate thing as well is he can block attacks, but I can't attack him. So it's kind of a one-way street, unfortunately. So it's telling me that I should attack with these two, but I'm not sure. Ah, screw it, I'm just going to attack with all. Do it. Okay, so he's taking 2 damage. So now my Centaur is gone. Volcanic Dragon is perfectly fine. Fantastic. Okay, so the Bonebreaker Giant is gone, that's good. And my Alpha Tyrannax has survived. Now they're both tapped, unfortunately, but none of them could have blocked this guy anyway, so it doesn't really make much difference. So he's now going to swing in. Oh, okay. Now that's interesting. He decided not to swing in with his dragon. I assume that was to ensure that he had something to block, because, yeah, if he had swung in with his dragon, it would then be tapped and it couldn't block any of my attacks. And I have more than enough damage here to actually kill him outright. Now, what I have here is I have a 7, a 6, and a 2. So even if he blocks the highest one here, a 7, using that dragon, I can still do 8 damage to him directly and kill him. So I'm going to play a forest, and then I'm going to swing for everything here. Because unless he pulls out an instant or something, I'm still going to do 8 damage to him. So that's 2. And that's 6. And that's that. Game over. I know this stuff still resolves anyway. Volcanic Dragon dies, thankfully. And boom. So we have defeated him. I don't quite know who he was. Okay, so we're on to the next lesson. So that was all about casting spells and attacking. This one is specifically going to be about sorceries. Now, unfortunately, this whole kind of tutorial thing may take 1 or 2 episodes to get through, and then we'll kind of move on with things. Don't have anything else I can cast, so it moves to the next turn. Hopefully we'll get through this one a little bit quicker, now that we've gone over the absolute basics. Okay. And then we cast Runeclaw Bear. So I'm going to be going a little bit faster at this point, because as I say, we've gone over the absolute basics. We know how to cast mana, we know how to cast creatures, etc. We know how to attack and choose blockers. So this one is obviously going to go over kind of instant spells. And I kept talking about instant spells and sorceries and stuff like that, but obviously if you're unfamiliar with these concepts, then this is what this is all about. So this is a sorcery which can be cast at pretty much any point in the game. Now, I might be wrong on that. There are certain steps where certain cards can only be played. An instant you can play anytime. That's why it's called an instant. I think sorcery is similar, but it may have 1 or 2 restrictions. I need to go off and do a little bit more studying on that one before I can say conclusively. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So this is a sorcery called Taste of Blood. It's 1 black mana, and Taste of Blood deals 1 damage to target player, and you gain 1 life. So he's now going to do 1 damage to me. I'm going to go down to 19. He's going to gain 1 life. He's going to go up to 21.
Your opponent has cast a sorcery. A player can cast sorcery
There we go.
spells, like creatures, only during that player's turn before or after combat. A sorcery creates a one-time effect and then goes to the graveyard.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you, Magic, for clearing that up. So instants you can play at any point. Sorceries you can only play during your turn. Now, in the game of Magic, you basically have 2 main steps. So you have your upkeep step at the very, very beginning, where you untap everything. Then you have your draw step. You draw a card from the deck. Then you have your main step, where you can play your forests and you can play sorceries and creatures. Then you have your combat phase, and then you have an end step where you can play kind of more sorcery spells and things like that. So that's what they mentioned. Before or after combat, you have these 2 phases where you can actually play things like sorcery spells, and you can even cast creatures after combat as well. So once it's cast, it goes into the graveyard. So I'm going to play one of these, and I'm going to play my Runeclaw Bear. So I have 1 Runeclaw Bear who I cannot attack with, but he can block, so I'm safe. So I'm going to swing for 2, and we're going to attack with this Runeclaw Bear. Okay, so he takes 2 damage and he's down to 19. So we're now on equal footing. Okay, so he's got another swamp. He's got access to 3 black mana. He's probably going to swing with a sorcery now. Oh, he's actually putting in a creature. So this one is interesting. So he's a flying creature. We've come across that before, but he actually has lifelink as well, and that's an interesting ability. So damage dealt by something with lifelink also causes its controller to gain that much life. So if this creature does 1 damage to anything, whether it's to me or it's to one of my creatures, or even whether it's to its own controller, that controller then gains that much life. So he only does 1 damage. It's not a huge amount of life, but it can actually be helpful. And again, creatures with flying can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. And as I say, I'm well aware of that. We've gone over that now in this episode, so I'm going to not show that tip again. I'll probably forget that I don't need to mention it, and I will probably mention it again anyway.
Sorcery. Monstrous Growth will let you give one creature a temporary
Fantastic. Okay. So, let's cast a forest, and let's have a look at Monstrous Growth. So, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. So what that means is, whatever creature I choose, his power increases by 4 and his toughness increases by 4. So he can do 4 more damage and he can take 4 more damage, which is pretty awesome. So I have 2 identical Runeclaw Bears to choose from. I'm going to cast Monstrous Growth, and now I get to choose which creature I want to actually cast that upon. So then he's going to turn into a 6/6 Runeclaw Bear. Now, I can't block that flyer with either of these guys, so I'm just going to swing with everything. So now I'm actually swinging in for 8 damage. He can block this guy with his flyer, and his flyer will go down. And because I don't have anything that means the rest of the damage moves on to the actual enemy, the opponent, that means that he can effectively negate this 6 and he only takes 2 damage, and that would be the good way to go. He also has the option of negating my 2 and taking 6 damage, but you'd have to be silly to do that. There would have to be other extenuating circumstances to force you to do that. Now, he's actually decided not to block any of them at all, which is interesting. That is very interesting. So, clearly he did not want to lose his creature, because either one of my guys would have actually taken him out. Now, I'm tapped out.
If you ever need a moment to think or to read cards, press spacebar or click Stop Timer.
Okay, that's fine. So I don't need any further time to think. I don't have anything to block with. I don't have any spells that I can cast at the moment anyway. So, he did 1 damage, and his controller gained 1 life. So he's now casting another sorcery for 2 black mana called Vicious Hunger. Vicious Hunger deals 2 damage to target creature, and you gain 2 life. So he's going to basically kill one of my creatures here, and he's going to gain 2 life in the doing. So Runeclaw Bear dies and goes into the graveyard. Now here we go. I mentioned earlier on an ability which would mean that the other damage would actually move on to the controller, and this is the ability that I was talking about, Trample. So if a creature with Trample would deal enough combat damage to its blockers to destroy them, it deals the rest of its damage to the defending player. Okay? So what that means is, earlier on I had mentioned that I had a 6/6 Runeclaw Bear who was swinging into this guy. If he had blocked that 6/6 Runeclaw Bear with this guy, this 1/1 Dagger Drum Imp, without Trample, it meant that that 6 damage is just gone. It's all expended on the Dagger Drum Imp, and there's nothing left to attack the other player. If that Runeclaw Bear had Trample, like our spiked Baloth here, that means that no matter, like, anything less than 4 damage which is blocked, the rest of it goes on to actually damage the player. So in that instance, with the 6/6 Runeclaw Bear, he would have then taken 5 damage after Dagger Drum Imp had died. So we're going to cast a forest, give us some more mana, and then we're going to cast our spiked Baloth for 4 green mana. So he has Summoning Sickness at the moment, but he has Trample, which is fantastic. He is blocked, so he is tapped, so he can't block. So I'm going to swing for 2. So we're slowly whittling down his life total. Now, as I mentioned, the really cool thing about Magic is there's so many different strategies and so many different decks and things that you can put together, because there's so many different abilities available. Now, he's a flyer, I can't block him anyway, so I have to take the damage. So you have things like Lifelink, Flying, Trample, you have loads of other things that I won't even bother going into at the moment, because we'll be coming across them in the upcoming episodes. So he's now paying 2 black mana to cast Walking Corpse, which is simply a 2/2 creature with nothing special. Okay, that's fine, we'll continue. Okay, so we're going to cast a forest. Now, I have enough here to play Alpha Tyrannax, but I also just got Bountiful Harvest, and this is a sorcery that I can cast. So, what I'm going to do, I think, I wonder. So I have a couple of options here. I can play the Alpha Terranax and tap all of my land, or I can gain lots of life now and cast my Bountiful Harvest. I think what I'll do is, see, he can attack with him this turn, but he can attack with him next turn, but he can still block with him, and this guy only has a toughness of 2, so he would probably die. So I think I'm going to cast this to gain myself some life, buy myself some time, and I'll be able to play Alpha Terranax in the next turn. I'm not going to attack this turn. I'm going to make that conscious decision not to attack. So he's got access to more mana now, and unfortunately probably access to more sorceries, but he's deciding just to swing for 1. So I can't block, I take 1, and he goes up 1. So even though this guy is quite small and it doesn't really, he's not very much of a threat, he's slowly increasing his controller's life total. Okay, so we've got a creature here, Catacomb Slug, who's a 2/6. So he doesn't do very much damage, but he can take a lot of damage before he goes down, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I probably actually should have attacked.
Fight is a special action that causes creatures to deal damage directly to one another.
Interesting. So this is another ability or action that we can see. So now Alpha Terranax needs 4 colorless and 2 green. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 colorless and 2 green, so I can either cast Alpha Terranax or I can cast Prey Upon. So Prey Upon means target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So I can force one creature to fight another creature. Now it wouldn't make sense really to make any of my guys directly fight any of those guys, because my guys will go down. I can only attack these 2 guys because I don't have anything with reach that can attack a flyer, and so there's no point in using it right now. However, I am going to cast Alpha Terranax, and what that means then is that I can cast Prey Upon in my next turn to directly take out this Catacomb Slug. Now if I were to swing here, he could block with these guys, both of my guys would die, only one of his guys would go down. I don't want that, so I'm going to skip the attack. So he's playing a Firebog Boneflinger. Oh crap. Okay, so this ability that this zombie creature has, he's just a plain 2/2, but when he enters the battlefield, as in now, a target creature gets -2/-2 until the end of turn. Now what happens is any creature whose toughness goes down to 0 goes to the graveyard. So now what he can effectively do is he can choose either of these creatures and kill them. More than likely he's going to kill this guy because he's the bigger threat. There we go. Down he goes. Straight into the graveyard. Damn it. Okay, so I lost my trample there, and I'm also down 1 big creature. So that is not good. I really should have attacked earlier. Okay. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so we got 2 Prey Upons here. Now, I don't know whether the creature becomes tapped if I cast this. So I'm going to cast Prey Upon. I'm going to choose a creature I control, this guy. I'm going to choose a creature I don't control, this guy, and they're going to fight. Okay, so what happens there is they fight, they don't tap, but any damage incurred on a creature who survives stays there until the end of the turn. So this guy can still survive a direct assault with one of these guys, which is good. I like that. So I'm going to cast Prey Upon. I'm going to choose this guy, and I'm going to choose this guy. So they fight, and Walking Corpse dies. Okay. So I have a choice here now. I can swing for everything and take out that guy, but lose this guy and only do 2 damage, or I can hold on. I think I'm going to hold on. I want this guy to regenerate his health so that he'll survive. Okay, so he has access to a lot of black mana at the moment. He's going to cast another Walking Corpse. Oh crap. Okay, well at least I can attack and I can block, so that's good. Okay, enlarge. So this is a sorcery I can cast for 5 mana. So 2 green mana and 3 colors. Target creature gets +7/+7 and gains trample until end of turn. It must be blocked this turn if able. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to cast +7/+7 on this guy. He's going to get trample, so he'll be able to take on all of these guys and do further damage to this guy. Now, the other option is to cast it on this guy so that I have 2 big guys instead of 1 massive guy and 1 small guy. So what I think I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to cast this on Runeclaw Bear. And then we're going to swing for everything. Okay, so altogether we're doing 15 damage. It's enough to kill that guy, but he has 2 creatures he can block with. So, let's see what happens. Okay, so he's going to block 1 damage. So he's blocking 2 damage there. Firebog, Bone Flicker dies. My guy's toughness goes down to 3. Walking Corpse is going to stop Runeclaw Bear. So Walking Corpse dies. Runeclaw Bear's toughness goes down to 7. Okay, and so he's down to 8 life. So he's not in a good position. And all he's done is cast a Walking Corpse. So I'm still in a good position. I still have full life. He's down to 8. Oh ho, Prey Upon. Fantastic. This is exactly what I need. Okay, so we're going to cast Prey Upon. I'm going to choose this guy, Alpha Tyrannax. Is it Tyrannax or Tyrannax? Yeah, Tyrannax. I'm going to choose Walking Corpse. They fight. Walking Corpse dies. I still have enough toughness to survive. And then I'm going to swing with everything. So he can choose to block. He chooses to block my 6 damage. Because that creature doesn't have trample, as we mentioned earlier on, that 6 damage is entirely expended fighting Daggerdrome Imp, who now dies, and the lifelink disappears. He has still, however, done 1 damage to me, so the opponent gains 1 life. He goes up to 7. And I'm now fully tapped out. He's gone up to 9 black mana, so he could have a massive spell that he can play, but he hasn't played it. I'm going to play a Forest. I'm going to move into the attack step, and I'm going to attack with everything, and we'll move in. Now, he could have an instant or something like that. I don't believe he does, because this is all about sorceries. He's going to take 8 damage, and he's going to die. Fantastic. Huzzah and hooray. Okay, so yeah, that's a lot of the basics of Magic. There's still other things we need to go on to. We need to go on to enchantments, instants, and the timer. Now the timer is primarily used in tournaments and also in this game, so it's not going to be hugely helpful. What is important in this game is, because the timer moves along automatically, you're going to need to go, oh no, wait, stop, I'm going to do this. And that's something that would actually naturally happen in the game of Magic. You know, somebody would play a creature and go to swing to attack, and you say, no, wait, I'm going to play this card and deal loads of damage to your creature and kill him. So that's where instance and the timer comes along. Then we have activated abilities. So some of the things we saw on creatures were like flying and trample. They were automatically there. But there are other abilities that you can activate, or you can pay to activate by tapping the creature or by paying mana to do, and they'll do similar things. They'll allow you to do similar things. You can activate an ability to increase the strength of a creature and various different things like that. And then basically what we're going to do is, once we get to the end of that, we're going to be playing against an actual Planeswalker, Chandra Nalaar. So we'll be applying all of the concepts that we've learned there in our fight with Chandra. So thus far we've covered casting spells and combat and the basics of how to play Magic, casting mana and things like that. And we've also come across sorceries. Our next step is enchantments. So thanks very much for coming along for the ride, guys. As I say, I've been into paper Magic for quite some time. This is a little bit different, but my plan is to do this over the next couple of weeks, and then next year, in the next month or two, to move on to doing videos about paper Magic and stuff like that. So let me know what you think of this game. Are you interested in it? Does it kind of hold any appeal? Have you played it before? What are your comments? What's your feedback? How do you guys feel? Do you think I did something wrong? Do you have any, hints or tips and advice for me for playing? Have I, made a complete balls of it? let me know what you think. So thanks very much, guys. Like if you did so, comment if you have any feedback, and please subscribe for more. We'll talk to you guys again. Take care.
And it's just us and the stars.